Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with big one on deck, Arya 6. What's going on, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, this is my probably first major miss, huh? Like major, I'd say, right?
You had a big misprediction. So what's going on in this chapter? Give us a synopsis and then give us your thoughts on it.
I got the one sentence synopsis. The trial of Sandor Clegane.
Yes. Trial by combat. And Kyle's reference on his big miss is he was predicting that this was Kevin.
I don't remember how I ended up there. I still feel like I was led to Kevin by you guys, but maybe I came to it on my own.
I just think you heard Lannister.
Yeah, and I was like, who's got money? That's fair. Yeah, I think I did end up on
and
Kevin
like,
by
who's
myself.
Not,
okay.
Who could be around type of thing. And
I think the other there was two other pieces of evidence. The one that I think kept you on the Kevin one that I brought up was that they're like, oh, wait till your bloody brother hears about this or something like that. And again, that makes sense with Kevin because of Tywin, but they're referencing the Hound.
The Mountain.
The other thing is the Mountain. Yeah, when they're pulling the fat guy out of the crow cage to put him in, and they're like, is he going to fit? And like, oh, I'll make him fit. So there is a slight mention that like whoever the captive is, he's like large. Yeah. Which is like the one thing that kind of doesn't align with Kevin. But everything else, like, but I mean,
I don't know how fat Kevin is.
Exactly. We don't know either way. But again, I thought Kevin was a good, like a really interesting, but like also like made sense, good prediction.
The one Hound, other than like, oh, he's big, it was like you Lannister dog, I think is what they called him.
Yeah, they definitely say stuff like that, and like she saw his face, and like, yeah, I mean, the Hound's face is all fucked up, right? Like, so it's pretty obvious from far away.
Yeah, I guess that's the other hint is I think the chapter actually ends with, and her prayers were answered. Kevin isn't on her list, but the Hound is, right? Which is like where
that's fair. I didn't even
that comes from.
If that is a quote, I don't remember that.
I don't know if it's the very last one, but
I think it was. I think it was there because she was just getting done saying their list.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, editing Nelson here. Here's a short clip from the last Arya chapter where Kyle is thinking about who the captive could be.
And then she hears him saying, "A Lannister." They're putting a Lannister in the cage.
Here's your new castle, you bloody Lannister bastard. A little snug for the likes of you, but we'll squeeze you in. Never fret.
So I was going to say, it was another fat one, right?
Someone who's not going to fit.
Someone.
Yeah, so... But then... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask you the question that I think you're going to talk about.
I
was going to say, she's like, oh my God, is it Jaime, right? And then something happens. Somebody throws a rock at it, and he turns his head, and it's not him.
Yes.
Yep.
Lannister, says Arya. I heard him say Lannister. Have they caught the Kingslayer? Gendry wanted to know. Down in the square, a thrown stone caught the captive on the cheek, turning his head. Not the Kingslayer, Arya thought, when she saw his face. The gods had heard her prayers after all.
So that brings us to Kyle's thoughts on the end.
Like, I mean, I feel like there's so many Lannisters, and I don't know what enough of them look like. It could be anybody, right?
I feel like for you to have like a really good guess, they would have had to given you
like anything
more of a description, right?
I think there's one other hint that we kind of skipped over. There's another quote. The crows will be picking out your eyes while we're spending all that good Lannister gold of yours. And when the crows are done, we'll send what's left of you to your bloody brother. Though I doubt he'll know you.
Is it Kevin then?
Obviously, we're not going to tell you who it is. But.
I know. Well, Kevin's Tywin's brother, right? Kevon.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. We'll leave it at that.
All right, now back to the episode.
The gods had heard her prayers after all. Yeah.
Which kind of comes back in this chapter later on.
However, it says not the Kingslayer, Arya thought when she saw his face. The gods had heard her prayers after all. But the Kingslayer was on her list too. So my assumption with that was that...
I don't know if the Kingslayer is on her list.
Jaime's not on her list.
I mean, I can check really quick, but...
That's very possible.
For some reason, I don't think he is.
She hasn't run into him yet.
It would make sense either way. I just
she didn't know about the whole brand thing.
Yeah, most of these are like personal.
But more of what I was getting at was that the gods had heard her prayers by saving these kills for her, is the way I interpreted that.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, this is my list. This is my job.
Didn't she hear that somebody had died? Am I making that up?
So her list is Sir Gregor Clegane, Dunson, Polliver, Chiswick, Raff the Sweetling, the Tickler, Sandor Clegane, Sir Armory Lorch, Sir Ilyn, Sir Meryn, King Joffrey, and Cersei. So Armory Lorch is the one that was killed. He was killed by the Brave Companions when the whole like Harrenhal switch, where on the north side now happened.
Didn't the bear fuck him over?
Exactly, they fed him to the bear. So, and I feel like she was
fuck
like,
him up rather than fuck him. The bear didn't play a trick on him.
Yeah, I feel like she was like excited about that. Maybe not excited, but she wasn't like, shucks, I lost that one. You know what I mean?
All right, so Arya gets a hood pulled off her head, and she's in this weird Weirwood cave system, which is pretty sweet.
The Hollow Hill.
Yeah, the Hollow Hill is what they're calling it, and it's sweet. Like a huge fire pit in the middle. The walls are all dirt and stone, like because again they're underground, and there's just like big snake-like roots that are white because it's weirwood roots, like going in and out. And who we find out is like Beric is like sitting up in like a little nest of roots, like a little weirwood seat up at the top of these like stairs. So yeah, it's kind of sweet. Which
Definitely
is
cool setting.
Which is weird because you think like. I guess I'll just throw this out there at the beginning before we get into it. Like Weirwood to me, I think like old gods, like North, right? And these guys clearly have a different god who's serving them well. This seems like kind of a weird
it's just
place for them. You know what I mean?
It's just a great place to hide, though. Like it's not.
Yeah, it would be just an underground cave.
It could have been fucking the pig shit cave.
Yeah, but this is a place where you think like maybe like Bran's magic is better, not
well what I was gonna say would be like as if they were holding this in the basement of the Church of the Seven or something. Same idea, right?
Exactly. Or like where it would make sense would be like at Dragonstone, like in a volcano or something like that.
But we know nothing was setting.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Affecting magic.
Exactly, but I think it's an interesting contrast that we get. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think it's a weird one, but
so this kind of raises some questions, right? Like, so Beric. How long have they been out here? Just since Ned sent them out? Like,
yeah, we might.
How do they know all this stuff already? How do they have this sweet like area that's like set up?
Well, it has been a while.
It's strange to me, right?
It's been over a year.
Yeah, I think it's been over
but
a year.
I mean, like I've been outside for over a year and I never found this fucking hole in the ground.
Yeah, have you been outside without a house for a year?
Not without a house, I guess.
I mean, these guys were sent out on a mission. Like, you got to figure something out.
How much? What's 6 score, Nelson?
Score is 20.
120 men.
It's like 120. Yeah. I think that's what they were sent out with. I think I think we looked on that up.
And they lost, find this awesome hill.
They lost some, but then they filled more. So like I don't know, they got a squad with them still.
Yeah, I guess then they would be talking to locals that were because they've picked up people. So
I mean, they know about every village. It seems like in the Riverlands. Like, it seems like they know.
I know. It's
just because also we find this out later. We heard about this before. The whole group is pretty much made up of just like randoms who joined up from the Riverlands. So you hear about secrets from here. This guy.
Yeah. But at the same time, Beric's like sitting in this place like it's his and it's been his forever. It's kind of how it feels to me. And like they're holding this court like it's something they do all the time. But like how many times could this has happened in a year, right? 8, I guess. How many times has Beric been killed?
Yeah, probably about that.
he keeps fucking losing all these trial by combat.
He might not have lost everyone though. You never know.
I was making a joke.
I'm saying like I think they actually could do this on like if they're actually like hunting people down. This could be fairly common of the thing. I think the important line that they say when they do pull it off, Lem's like, neither wolves nor lions come prowling. So like, maybe it's a place that like the Riverlands are like pretty aware of, or like but the North people and the Lannisters have no clue about this spot.
Along those lines, like they've taken Arya to like some secret spots. Have they ever put a hood on her before?
No.
So this is like the super secret spot. Like if they're willingly walking Arya in, being like toot 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 toot, branches like ladders come down out of trees. Everybody comes out from the rubble. Like she's been in like some semi-secret.
This is the hideout. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like the big like no one knows that cave.
Yeah. All right. So they're there. It's her, Gendry, and then the huntsman's prisoner. Right. That's the last prisoner, I guess you'd say, or captive.
Yeah. I don't know if it's right here, but like pretty early on, we get like she kind of like thinks back to what happened right after the end of the last chapter, like how that whole ordeal.
She thought the huntsman was going to kill Lem and whatever, and
Tom
settled
the dogs,
everybody over,
and Tansy brought him some bones, and
it's a pretty cool setup. It's almost it reminded me of like a very current movie type of thing where like, nope, don't do that. Like we got a sniper somewhere on the position, and then like the red dot pops out, and it's just
and guys up in the window,
up in the window,
exactly, yeah. And again, I don't. Again, it's one of the things where I feel like we don't learn right away that it's the Hound. Like he says it eventually in the chapter, but it's like a page and a half or 2 pages in. Like at one point they say like, "Oh, how'd you capture him?" And they're like, "Oh, the hounds betrayed him."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, one of his own kind." Like they say that before I think they actually say who it is, which is again just like little hints right before the big reveal.
Yeah. So as they're in the cave, Greenbeard points out Thoros,
Yep.
a mirror who Arya recognizes, but he looks a lot different than the last time she saw him. He's lost a lot of weight. His head
Shaved his head.
shaved. And
Opposite of shaved his head. He was shaved before. Now he has
he
a full
was
head of
yeah
hair.
he
Oh,
was
okay.
fat with a shaved head. Now he's loose skin with I don't know how loose skin. He mentions that it's hanging off. He needs a tailor,
Yeah.
but and then I don't. Does he have a beard? He always had a beard, right?
I think she says that he did. I don't think that was mentioned to change.
Yeah, and she mentions that he seems to see her and was like gonna say something, but
Until then they throw
yeah.
the hound down right in his place.
Yep.
She also mentions again like the huntsman was one of the people that they talked about a lot in the last Arya chapter, but we actually didn't like see him. He shows up at the very end, but we never see him.
Yep.
She does mention here like he's just like some kind of like stocky
Yeah, he's nothing
guy
special.
with dogs.
with
Yeah,
dogs.
she thought he was going to be some like the mountain kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
But
he's just some guy. Yep.
dude with some pups.
Cool nickname though.
Yeah, so Thoros asked how they captured him. They said the dogs found him under a tree. He was sleeping off a drunk. Also,
Yeah.
this seems like the same day, right? Because if they found him sleeping off a drunk, they brought him in. Arya later when he's sweating, she's like, "Oh, that's a wine sweat," because he was sleeping off a drunk. So that tells me same day, which tells me hole in the ground hill, Hollow Hill is close to Stony
where
Sept.
they were.
Very
Yeah.
close to Stony Sept. Day's ride, right? I mean, Arya
fair.
was waking up in the very morning when they saw that come in, so they could be up to a day's ride away, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah, maybe a couple hours still, which
Yeah.
I don't know how it could probably still travel a decent amount, but I'm not here.
that
to
narrows
argue
it
that.
down a lot, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Thoros and the Hound recognize each other. They're like, "Hey, what's going on, buddy? I know you."
I think it's funny. He's like, "Welcome. This is it's not as grand as the throne room, but the company's better." I'll say like nobody ever asks, but I'll say my opinion.
Nobody asks. We don't ask. You do.
I
give.
normally give it anyway. We always ask Kyle. Nobody ever asks me. It's whatever. I give it anyway. I like this chapter because I just love the Hound talking shit to everybody all chapter. Like he doesn't give until he's on fire. He doesn't give a shit about anything. He's like, "Fucking throw me in the crow cage. Pull a sword on me." He's just like laughing in their faces, like when they pull a sword on him while he's still in like handcuffs. Like, "Ha, pussy, dare you to." You know what I mean? Like,
My opinion is, I agree with you. I think it's a dope chapter. I don't think a whole lot goes on. I think it's a lot of
conversation. Yeah.
filler conversation until you get to the fight. I just think he's a dude who like doesn't give a fuck either. He's like, whatever, kill me. Like I don't care. Like I'll kill you. I have no problem killing you. But like if you kill me, like whatever, I'll go to.
Well, I
someone
mean,
else.
he's been at the end of his rope here, right? Like that's where what happened. He's like, "Fuck all this, I'm done," right? And then he left
Yep.
Yeah. And it's funny because like, why did he run?
because Tyrion was dick.
Not really, because he was in the middle of a battle that was all fire.
All fire,
He's
yeah,
like,
and
"Fuck
it just
this."
scared him.
I mean, Tyrion was like, "Get out there," and he's like,
Yeah.
"No, fuck you, I'm out." Which is funny because now he's picked up by like the fire guys.
yeah, and he's gonna
he gets
have a
caught
whole
on
bunch of fire. Yeah,
Yeah, like literally, like I'm jumping ahead a little bit. When they start the match, like the fight, and like Beric lights his sword up, he's like,
Sword's
"Fuck
on
you,
fire."
go to hell, and you too,
You
Thoros."
bitch.
Like, I know you're behind this. Yeah, like-
There's a
You
giant
taught-
fire
You
behind
taught him
him.
how to do that.
yeah. So I guess back to where we are, like in these introductions, Thoros, he's like, when he's like, "I know you," and Thoros is like, "Yeah, I beat your ass a lot in the melees with my flaming sword." So like,
only because that shit was on fire.
again, like it just it's the Hound's weakness. It's like obvious Hound's weakness. I mean, it's on his face now. It's all over his body, but yeah.
Yeah, he didn't pull a Batman and make his weakness his biggest strength.
Oh yeah, he's not like the fire guy now. Yeah, that would be the Batman.
All right, so they have some back and forth.
Why aren't you shaved anymore? I thought you were supposed
Yeah.
to be like humble and like pious. And he's like, I was faking it back then. Plus, I lost my razor in the woods.
But now my shit's real. Now I got some magic shit going on, and I can see shit all over the world that's happening through my flames, and it's pretty fucking cool.
Again, I think we don't normally get too deep into this, but I'd normally like to mention a little bit. George isn't super religious, but I think there is a little bit of like jabs at like religion, and like you don't need all the pomp and circumstance. Like you just got to be like actually believe in it type thing. Like they're out here getting results clearly, right? Like, and there's
Something's
people
going
in the seven who are wearing all the altars, seven like the crazy crown that the High Septons like. We haven't seen that guy do anything magic related. Not that you need magic for religion, but
Yep.
you know what I mean.
And
It's like Thoros didn't give a fuck, wasn't getting
That's
anything done when he
Nelson's
was
guide to religion.
when he was like faking it, right? When he was wearing the red robes and he was like keeping bald to look pious. Now that he's dirty, robes are faded. He's got a beard. He looks just like a hobo, basically. Now he's like actually faithful and getting shit done.
Yeah. So
Reminds me of somebody else. His name was Jesus.
The carpenter, barefoot carpenter.
So it's like, who are all these fucking people with you? Like, what's going on here? This outlaw gang. And this is where Thoros calls them all his brothers. And the Hound, with a funny jab, he's like, you guys all look like swine herders more than a gang.
Yeah, we are swine. Someone's like, yeah, we are swineherds.
Yeah, tanners, singers, masons, but now we're all soldiers. You've made us that way. It's pretty much what he says. Like this war has forced us to become more.
And Beric makes his dramatic entrance from the top rope. When we left King's Landing, we were men of Winterfell, and men of Darry, and men of Blackhaven, Mallory men, and wild men. We were knights and squires and men at arms, lords and commoners, bound together only by our purpose.
The voice came from the man seated amongst the weirwood roots halfway up the wall.
60 of us set out to bring the king's justice to your brother.
The speaker was descending the tangle of steps toward the floor.
60 brave men and true, led by a fool in a starry cloak.
A scarecrow of a man. He wore a ragged black cloak speckled with stars and an iron breastplate dinted by hundreds of battles. A thicket of red gold hair hid most of his face, save for a bald spot above his left ear where his head had been smashed in.
More than 80 of our company are dead now, but others have taken up the swords that fell from their hands.
When he reached the floor, the outlaws moved aside to let him pass. One of his eyes was gone, Arya saw, the flesh around the socket scarred and puckered, and he had a dark black ring all around his neck.
With their help, we fight on as best we can for our Robert and the realm.
So it's kind of like you said, like he's coming from the top ropes. He's not like WWE People's Elbow. He's like I think it's kind of like creepy, like coming out of the shadows.
I think it more like the king
cool.
is descending. Like it's like I don't know.
Like, oh, I'm the leader of this.
But you're right.
Like she doesn't mention that she can't see that he's one-eyed before he starts walking down. That
I
she's
would
like,
say,
holy fuck, this guy's one eye, and he's got like the scars from being hung, and he's got like a caved-in head. Like again, we've heard that he's died all these times, but like she's seeing this for the first. It's like we're seeing it for the first time too. Like holy fuck, this guy.
I was gonna say it kind of feels like maybe not Phantom of the Opera, but like that kind of suspense reveal, like what you're saying, or like a villain reveal, I guess, right? Like it seems like the Bond villain almost coming down from the top, and his eyes all fucked up, and he's got a laser pointed at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Monologuing, and we were the men of honor. Yeah, like exactly. Just shit like
I don't find it creepy. I thought it was a pretty cool deal.
I see all sides of it. I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's walking through the shadows, you see his feet, and then his, it's just kind of peering up, and like, oh shit, he does have an eye, and his face is.
The stories were true.
Yeah, exactly.
Dented and whatnot.
Because she's heard some of those stories, right? Not just
she's
us?
heard them a lot. Okay. Yeah, I think that's where we've heard most of them is like with Arya.
Yeah. So I think the biggest parts about what he said is that one, he's been fucked up. Arya's heard the stories, and two, they fight for Robert in the realm, which sounds like, what the fuck are you doing then?
Robert.
Yeah, again, like some of these conversations, like we've already had. Like I think this is the conversation like Arya and Gendry have with these guys when they're like, yeah, we're Robert's men, and Gendry's like, that old drunk fool, he's dead, you idiots! Like, haven't you heard? And they're like, we know, but we fight for his cause and his people. I think they go a little bit more into it here, but yeah, we've heard like the outline of this before.
Mm-hmm.
We lost the Royal Banner when we got shit on at the Mummers Ford, which is basically like the first battle that happened when they were first sent out to go attack the mountain. We lost our banners there, but we didn't lose our cause, pretty much. I think it's also funny, he touches his chest when he's talking about the Mummers Ford.
Yeah.
And then later when he takes off his armor.
That's where he got lanced.
I think that's when he probably got lanced by the mountain, is why he's touching his chest at this point, like talking about
the I definitely thought that too. I didn't remember what they said happened at
So he got lanced by the mountain at Mummers Ford?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we've heard is that the mountain killed.
But he just said that they got butchered by her brother's men.
They're talking to
to
Sandor.
Yeah.
his brother.
The other people.
Well, I'm thinking of the Mummers, right?
That's true. They're on Rob's side right now. Yeah.
Which are, that's what I keep thinking of. The bloody Mummers at Mummers Ford, but it's not them. It's the mountain and these dudes.
Yeah. I think we talked about this before. Like, why would the Mummers Ford be called the Mummers Ford? And it seems like well, these guys got ambushed there, right? So like Mummers Ford means Fool's Crossing, I think, is like what we concluded earlier. Okay. And like, these guys got shit on because they were being idiots thinking they could cross here, and they got kind of ambushed.
Yeah. All right. So the Hound recognizes Beric, calls him out, and then that kind of sets off a light in Arya's head because she's seen him at court before, and he looks a lot different, similar to Thoros.
She's like, Gene Poole used to have a crush on this guy.
Yeah, he used to be good looking.
I mean, his eyeball was not a
Having
puckered
two eyes
socket.
is always better than one.
Yeah, it wasn't a butthole in the middle of his face.
He had hair on his whole head.
Even with the crushed in head, I think I could handle that. It's the eyeball, I think.
Isn't that in The Shining? In The Shining, like, don't you just see like dead people who are just like walking around like they're just like chilling? Like
I don't think it was like this.
Shining?
I thought there's a part where there's like a girl and he like walks up to her and then like in the mirror you see that she has like a huge like hole in the back of her head or something like that. That's kind of like what I feel like it's like talking to like with Barrick
Maybe.
hanging out. You're like, dude, can you like put a
are you
mask
thinking
on
of-
or something?
It sounds like Sixth Sense when he sees dead people, but
Oh, that might be what I'm thinking of. You know what? That's what I'm thinking of. Spoilers.
I don't remember really
For
either.
both those movies, I
Maybe
guess.
I haven't seen them in a long time, but yeah. So the Hound's like, "What are you guys doing? Like, you're wasting your time. Like, Robert doesn't give a shit about you. He never did. Like, if he couldn't have sex with you, like, you were worthless to him. He doesn't care about this war. He doesn't care about the realm."
Yeah, they're like, he's dead because Barrick says, I think it's Barrick says, he might be dead, but his realm isn't, and that's who we defend. And Xander's like, the realm's rocks, dude. Robert didn't give a fuck about these rocks. If he couldn't fuck it, drink it, or fight it, he didn't care about it. And he calls them the brave companions.
Yeah.
And that's when they're
They
like,
didn't
shut
like
the
that.
fuck up. Everyone starts popping off.
Don't you do that again.
Yeah. Lem draws a
Try
sword.
it.
And the Hound's just like,
Huh.
pussy. Like, what kind of man? Like, you're so brave. You're drawing your sword on a man in captives. Untie me and let's see how brave you are then.
But isn't that like what he wants them to do? Like, I don't know. He's still goading them, I guess. But at the same time, like,
He doesn't want to die. I feel like he's pushing his luck here for.
I don't.
Maybe
think
he just
really
doesn't care.
cares. He doesn't care. If he could either cut himself free or die, like whatever. Like what I don't have anything to do.
he is. Yeah, I mean, where is he going except for maybe to meet the mountain? But I don't think he likes him that much, right? So
Yeah. Like, well, yeah, I guess like what's his? He left the Lannisters. That's all we've really seen him like care about.
yeah, he said, "Fuck this, I'm gone."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like what? Yeah, what's he doing now?
So then we get their actual name that they're going by, and Thoros was like, "Yeah, well, we're actually all brothers."
Holy brothers, sworn to the realm, to our God, and to each other.
Yep. And then Tom Seven Strings pulls out a little pluck of a string. We are the Brotherhood without banners.
I think the other names are cool too. The other one is the Knights of the Hollow Hill, and then later I think I don't know if it's like an official nickname, but Barrick says something like the Forgotten Fellowship.
Maybe that's another like Batman. We are the Knights of the Hollow Hill, the Forgotten Fellowship, the Brotherhood without banners.
Like at the end of Dark Knight.
The end of Dark Knight. Thanks for
I
picking that up.
really need to watch these two movies, or three movies, a whole bunch, because I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like
It's like my whole
I would
life.
get
I probably
75% of your jokes and quotes.
I probably reference the Dark Knight 3 times a day.
That's what I'm saying.
So, a little pat on the back from me and Jeff. This is, I don't think, a big spoiler, but like, there's been a few times where Jeff and I have been like, and then the outlaws that Arya's with.
I think I might have actually like snuck it in once. Like I called it maybe the Brotherhood, and like it
Something
wasn't
like
called,
that.
or
Yeah,
but
I don't think, again, it's like one of the things, like, if we would have said it, would it have really been a spoiler? No, not really.
I wouldn't even have caught it. I would have assumed we had already read it at some point. Like,
and it's
I'm
very
sorry.
easy
That
to
was
like.
that was a low dollar value spoiler that you protected with
Yeah.
your
and you
life.
could hear like the Brave Companions and think Brotherhood, or like the
Yeah, there's so many different groups and shit
the
out here. Like,
mummers, and it's
Yeah.
just like what who is who?
Because we've been here, and recently we've been hearing about the Kingswood Brotherhood, right? One of the guys that Sam was talking to last time was talking about the Kingswood Brotherhood.
well, and they talk about it here even again. And I know you were going to bring it up.
They talk about the Kingswood Brotherhood here?
Fletch, whatever his name is, the Fletcher.
I think it's a different guy. There was like a. You're right. There
Fletcher
was a
Will.
It was Fletcher Dick who was.
Was it?
It was. Who was?
God damn it.
Sam's. Not Sam. What was it? Ulmer's teacher.
All right, so this is where I think it's like the Hound is funniest. He's like, all right, enough of your guys' fucking monologues. Like, if you're gonna kill me,
Well, no, we're not there
Kill
yet,
me
right?
now.
So when they say Knights of the Hollow Hill, he laughs back at them Knights, and I point this out because like this is kind of what that we've seen. This is what the Hound harps about. He doesn't like knights. Fuck the whole knighthood thing. It's a bunch of bullshit. Right. That's
Yeah.
what he talks to Sansa about. The stories are bullshit.
yeah.
Knights suck.
Well, we've kind of heard it from two people too. Like Jamie's said this too. Like the oath is like a catch-22. Like you get stuck in,
Yeah.
you get stuck between an oath, and like you're really kind of, you think you're keeping it up, but you're hurting another part of it, type of thing.
Well, and this goes back to the Dunk story even, right? Like they
Yeah.
get into like a knight can knight a knight, and like, are you truly knights? I mean, it's
Yeah. So they get into that because the Hound says, "Well, Barrick's a knight. The rest of you guys you kind of even admitted, you're literally like farmhands and field and swine herds and like masons. And Barrick's like, well, Kyle said, any knight can make it knight. They have all felt my steel on their shoulder, which is just like, this is kind of one of the problems I've thought about, like with knighthood. Like, what if you just have a guy who's like knight, and that's what Barrick's doing. Like, he's mysterious and stuff, so it's like
he's got a pitchfork.
We give him a pass on it, but like, if this was like a random guy,
doing 3 at a time. Is that
I was saying like that was his primary weapon, and like, yeah, you're a knight now, and he's.
I thought you were saying he had a pitchfork, so he could
might save
multiple
time.
people at once, and it's why
knight 80 people.
Yeah. But at the same time, like part of being a knight, right, is to uphold these values that we talk about all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you're just knighting everybody, then I feel like your knighthood would get stripped pretty quickly.
That's true. I don't know how that happens though.
You just fucking
it's kind of
we've seen people lose value and lose valor and honor.
Yeah, I guess the king just commands.
It makes me think that Barrick's mindset now is that he is a knight for Robert still. So like, if Joffrey was like, "Oh, Barrick's a kook, he's not a knight anymore," like he would still consider himself a knight for Robert and like what he's doing for the realm of Robert and his god, which we find out he's on R'hllor's side now, and whatever. So and the brotherhood that they're in. So even if like the Seven Kingdoms were like, oh, don't recognize his knighthood, he's still going to be out there. Anyone who wants to join the brotherhood, like tapping shoulders left and right.
Yeah,
I just confirmed it is Fletcher Dick, and you're right, Jeff. Like he's knighting them into this club essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your point. But yeah, it was Fletcher Dick. That makes me so mad. Why would? I guess it just makes arrow maker, bow maker.
I mean, Fletcher's just like a good
Will.
nickname addition for people who are good at bow and arrows, I guess.
Well, I think it's fletching and arrows when you make arrow like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
well, that makes sense.
Just throw fletching on. I mean, fletching is like making arrows from like.
Well, I mean that's like how people got last names forever. So I mean, it makes
Miller.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
They made beer.
Like a mill, like an old timey mill.
Oh, I thought that's
a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah. Miller Lite. Get it, Nelson.
I got it now. Yeah.
All right, so the Hound is basically like, enough of your monologues. Like, screw you guys and your brotherhood. If you're gonna kill me now.
Yeah, spare me your pious bleedings.
And Thor's like, oh, it won't be murder. It'll be justice.
Yeah, he's like, and the huntsman
I have
agrees with
vengeance.
him and says, and you'll get a kinder fate than you deserve. And the huntsman's like, you call yourself lions, but at Shearer and the Mummers Ford, girls of 6 were raped and babies were cut in half while their mothers watched. No lion has ever killed so cruel. And the Hound's like, I wasn't at either spot. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the Hound has a point here. I think the Hound has a foot to stand on in pretty much every argument, even with the Micah one, but we'll hold off on that one for now.
And I think the big, maybe, we'll
hold off on the Micah one. Yeah.
I don't think he's done anything that wrong because he's been next to Joffrey all the time, right? Like, he hasn't had an opportunity.
And he's also thrown his cloak. He's not.
They don't know any of that.
He's not next to Joffrey right now.
They don't know.
He was
I don't
out
think they
by
know
a
why
tree
he's
drunk. I mean, if they just listened to him, like he probably would have said, like,
he does.
I've left Joffrey. Like
he does say at one point when they're like, "You Lannister," he's like, "You served the Lannisters." He says once, and thousands more. Right. So I think that's the only hint that we ever see him give them. But to your point, like it could have happened off page where he's like, "I'm done. I don't serve them anymore."
Yeah, I mean, and they talk over him. He's like, "What are you talking about? Like, I wasn't even there." Like,
yeah. So he has a good point. He's like, "I wasn't either there. I wasn't at either of the spots. What are you talking about?" And they're just like, "Yeah, but your house is built on the back of dead children," which again, like, kind of not true, right? The reason he has a sigil as dogs is because dogs saved a lord of the Lannister way back when, and that's like they were like kennel masters, and they got elevated to like lords because they saved their lord. And that's why their sigil is dogs. So like it's not like what Gregor did in King's Landing is what made them lords or gave them lands. Like it might have probably given them more favor, maybe, but it's not what like made them lords. So this is a little bit of an exaggeration. That House Clegane was built on the back of dead children. But then Thoros was like, yeah, I was there the day Gregor basically came in with
I saw the kids
babies.
lying on the throne room.
Exactly.
And but again, he's like, I didn't kill those kids. Like, that was my brother. Like,
yeah, is being born Clegane a crime? Is what the Hound says for this one.
So I think you guys are being too soft on him here, though. He still is. He's still a very high value target from the enemy's army, right? Like I know you can say that he's given up his all his shit, but he hasn't talked to anybody back there yet. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a prisoner, and he still should be a prisoner.
He's actually like, I'd rather you kill me than me try to beg for my life right now. Like, I don't care. He's not really, other than him saying, I didn't do that, I didn't do this, he could be like, yes, stating his case a little bit better. I'm not with them because they are bad people type, but he's not obviously doing that. So he's not really helping.
Well, that isn't why he left, right?
Well, even going back to Kyle's point, like, he is a prisoner. He should be a prisoner. He's an unlawful prisoner. These guys are outlaws. He's being held against his will by an outlaw band, that's not like a lawful. It's not like he's being arrested.
Yeah, but they're supposed
by,
to be knights.
In their mind, they're not outlaws.
A bunch of farmers who were knighted by Barrick, a crazy dead guy running around the Riverlands, running anyone. Knighting
they're
anyone.
Not all farmers. There's still a group of 40 of them that is an original gang.
You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I like Barrick. I think it's really ominous and cool, but like when you look at it on paper, he's a crazy dead guy running around the Riverlands, knighting anyone who will bend the knee to him. Sure. That's what he's doing. So like him taking people captives, like, yeah, the Hound's kind of a dickhead, but like it's not lawful in any means.
I'm just saying Barrick's mindset is that he's not an outlaw. He's still doing the king's work. So
That's true. I was
gonna say he's trying to fix this fight that's happening here, and this dude is a key player in it, right? And they can get a lot of money for him.
Yeah. And again, I see how Barrick in the group sees it that way, but I think like from the Hound's perspective, he's just a crazy guy knighting everyone, and especially like the Hound who doesn't like knights. I feel like that gets under his skin even more. Like this is kind of like his whole problem with it is like, what do you mean?
Like even if it was hard to be a knight, like you've just kind of thrown that out the window.
Exactly. Yeah.
But now we get into even more like. It's a long ass list of who he hurt. At first I thought it was actually people that the Hound had hurt, but then it's just more people that Lannister men have killed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
that the war has impacted. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll rip through them. Lothar Mallory, Sir Gladden Wild, my brothers Lister and Lennox, declared Jack P. Lucky, Goodman Beck and Mudge, the miller's son, from Donalwood, an old woman called from the shadows, Merriman's widow, who loves so sweet, added Greenbeard, them Septons at Sludgy Pond, Sir Andrew Charlton, his squire, Lucas Root, every man, woman, and child in Fieldstone and Mousedown Mill. Lord and Lady Dredgings, Thomas Evans took up the count.
Alan of Winterfell, Joth Quickbow, Little Matt and his sister Randa, Anvil Wren, Sir Ormond, Sir Dudley, Pate of Moray, Pate of Lancewood, Old Pate, and Pate of Shermer's Grove, Blind Will the Whittler, Goodwife Mary, Mary the Whore, Becca the Baker, Sir Raymond Derry, Lord Derry, Young Lord Derry, the Bastard of Bracken, Fletcher Will, Horsley, Goodwife Nala.
And that's when the Hound shouts, "Enough! I don't know any of these people. You're just making noise. What do they have to do with me?"
They don't care. I don't care about these people. Like I didn't actually kill any of them. I don't even know who they are.
And and he's still, that's what he stands by again. He said, it wasn't my sword. Like, how are you trying me for these people's crimes? But that he's supporting them, right? Like, and he's very actively the muscle for these people. Like, it's not like he's some innocent. It's not like he's
not
like
innocent.
The accountant or something that's, like maybe they're fucking up. Like, this dude, if he was out there, would have been killing people. Yeah, like, let's be real.
He's a frontline guy for sure. I don't think he's innocent, and we're gonna get into that very soon. But he's also a soldier. Like a soldier gets orders, right? He was receiving orders. Which is also coming up. So, but
Nelson's gonna bring up his World War II book again.
Is this like every?
I was gonna bring up
like,
A Few Good Men. Joffrey ordered the code red. The Hound just carried it out, right? We're not there yet.
But I guess to the Brotherhood's point is that like anyone that ever associated with the Lions, guilty. Like doesn't matter. Like we're gonna kill all of you anyway.
I don't know if that's true or it's still not clear to them.
We're gonna judge you.
I don't know if it's ever associated with them or if it's still not clear that he isn't part of them anymore. Because this is the only time in the chapter that I saw him mention it. When they say Thor says he serves the Lannisters, and all it says is once period, and so did 1,000 others, thousands others.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clearly. Once I did, I don't anymore.
Okay, I mean,
I think it's very clear.
Yeah, so then you might be right. I just wanted to point it out. Like,
but I feel like it's like,
I feel like that would be a
you say very clear, but
he
said one word about it. Yeah.
You served the Lannisters once. What's that mean? That means I don't anymore. That means that one. So like, it's very.
I'm
clear.
saying he's argued like 3 or 4 times that he had nothing to do with these other people's crimes. If it was me, I feel like I would have argued 3 or 4 times. I'm not even with them anymore. I'm not even with them anymore. I'm not even.
I also said earlier that he's not stating the best case for himself because that should be point number 1. Is that I had left them and I could maybe I could join you. I could be. I'm an ally. I hate him too.
Exactly. Like the Hound has nothing else to do. Like just join a group. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna join the Lord of Fire's alliance.
Yeah, who
right?
knights everyone while I hate knights. Yeah, not the best group for the Hound, but
Yeah. So I don't think he's innocent, and two, he's not stating the best case for himself with these people.
So this is where he's like, maybe you guys are knights after all. You lie like knights, maybe you murder like knights. And then Jack and Lem start to holler at him, but Beric stops him.
Yep.
And he's like, say what you mean. And the Hound says,
Yep.
A knight's a sword with a horse. The rest, the vows, the sacred oils, the ladies' favors. There's silk ribbons tied around the sword. Maybe the sword's pretty with ribbons hanging off it, but it will kill you just as dead. Well, bugger your ribbons and shove your swords up your arses. I'm the same as you. The only difference is I don't lie about what I am. So kill me, but don't call me a murderer while you stand there telling each other that your shit don't stink. You hear me?
I mean, which these people have been running around killing people, right? So,
Like I'm saying, technically unlawfully under the current regime. I get that
But at
in
the
their
same-
mind they're Robert's men,
and at the same time, like, it's just like part of the war, so it's they just have the upper hand on him here. So, like, if they call it Beric, right? Lannisters catch Beric.
Yeah.
They're gonna treat him like a murderer, right?
they're going to treat him
Even
worse
if he
than
didn't
that, I
actually-
think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, he's the enemy. It's
Yeah,
the same thing, right? Like, so it makes sense why they're acting like this to him. But
Again, the other thing is, I know that like we like these guys, and like it's like reading it, it's like Brotherhood good guys, the Hound bad
yeah,
guys.
we're definitely on. Yeah,
But again, even going back to like they think they're doing the right thing because they're in their head they're Robert's men. Technically, Robert sent them out to capture the mountain. They're literally just hanging people willy nilly. Like I feel like even if they were actually, if Robert was
Ned.
still alive, yeah, and it was Ned. If Ned and Robert were both still alive, I feel like they're still overstepping bounds with like some of the treatments they're.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of what they're doing is that they now have no leadership, so they're just like, all right, what do you think's best? And they're like, all right, let's just hang them all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like now that Robert's gone, it's completely on us. Like they've almost taken like, which is where you start to get into gray areas.
Yeah. So, but Arya can't stand hearing him say he's not a murderer.
Yep.
Because she's been praying for this guy since she knew how to pray for names.
Exactly. He was like number one probably for this.
Yeah. She jumps out to front of stage.
He killed Micah.
You bastard. Killed Micah. He didn't even do anything. I think it's like I don't remember what she said. Like did she admit to hitting Joffrey to anybody but Ned?
She does here.
I know she does here. I'm saying like when it was like, and I forget even the setting because I'm getting the show mixed up from the chapter.
Well, it's interesting
like,
here, and I actually wanted to go back and look, and I'll do it now. Arya here at one point says, and I think the Hound might say it too, like that Sansa said in front of everyone,
yeah,
Micah did it. And
Micah did it.
What I remember is
so
that
I don't
Sansa
remember
took no
what
side.
Arya said.
What I remember is that they asked Sansa, and Sansa was like, "I don't remember." But to your point, that might be show only. Like that's definitely what she said on the show.
I thought she
Yeah.
said Joffrey's side. I thought for sure that what he says here happened. Your own sister said it.
blamed Micah.
Yeah, thought so.
Yeah, my notes say Joff says it was all her and Micah, and Arya tells the truth. Robert silences them and tells them to turn to tell their stories. Sansa shows up when Arya gets to the part where she throws Lion's Tooth in the river. Renly laughs and Robert basically escorts him out. Renly makes fun of Joffrey. Ned says Sansa was there too. Sansa had already told Ned the truth, so he knows what she will say. Sansa looks at Arya and Joff, but says she doesn't remember. Arya calls her a liar and knocks her down. So yeah, so it's the same as the show. And it actually, in the books, Ned actually thinks like, I know that Arya's telling the truth because Sansa told me the same story earlier. So this is a lock for us. And then she says, I don't remember. And Ned's like, fuck. Like, come on, Sansa. Stand up for your family on this one. So
yeah,
you're right. This was a miss then, because he said the same. She told the same tale. Sansa's just a liar.
Is this a George slip up, or did Sansa have a meeting off script?
Unreliable narrator of the Hound, just because like the Hound in this case is just like, I want what I did.
Unreliable narrator. What a fucking Deus Ex Machina. You're just fucking fixing this. Like,
well, I mean, think about it.
Oh, he did it on purpose.
If you're the Hound, are you going to be like, oh yeah, Sansa said she didn't remember? Or are you going to be like, even Sansa backed me up. No one's there to argue you except for Arya. You're definitely going to do the thing that helps you.
Well, and Arya even said, then Arya's like, I know, she's a bitch, pretty much.
Or Arya was pissed that she didn't tell the truth. Like, Sansa did lie by just saying, I don't remember. Arya knew that was bullshit.
Yeah. All right. So we go round and round about kill. Well, it gets to the point where he's like, I did kill him. I know there's a lot of what we're kind of talking about in between.
Well, so we didn't talk about this yet. We glossed over it a few times, but we kept saying we'll get there. So I think the Hound is kind of in his right by this. Obviously, he's a fuckboy. Like, he enjoyed doing what he did. But when
for sure.
he says, like, I was doing what I was commanded to do by the Prince of the Realm.
Yep.
And it was like, it's not my job to question him. It's just my job to do
you
what
tell
he
him
says.
no. Yeah.
I do agree with that point. Is like, we don't know what his orders were. Was it just go kill kid or bring kid back type of thing?
I mean, he still didn't have to do him like that. He rode him down, smushed him. Like he this was gross, right? Like he did this
he
awful
cut him
thing.
in half. He basically cut the kid in half.
Pretty much did what he did to Barrack to a little boy. Yeah.
It negates, yeah.
So, and he had a lot of fun doing it. Like, let's not.
Yeah, exactly.
He fucking was laughing about
he wasn't like, oh no, I gotta
like
go.
like he's not somebody's kid. And
yeah, exactly.
You know.
So while Arya is accusing this, he's like, "Who are you? Like, who is?
Yeah,
who
boy,
are you?
I didn't
boy?
do. What are you talking about, boy? Who's Micah?
I ain't no boy. And he says the little sister.
Oh shit! You're supposed to be dead. Don't you know you're dead?
Also, here we were trying to guess sword names the other day, and I think somebody guessed like Lion's Claw or Lion's Tooth, and here Lion's Tooth was Joffrey's sword that Arya had thrown in the river. That's what he had named it.
Wasn't it Lion's Paw?
I think it's Lion's Tooth. That's what it says in
It's
my
Lion's
notes.
Tooth.
Lion's Paw. Threw Lion's Paw in the river.
What?
Bottom page 466.
That is definitely a George typo.
That's a lie. Arya squirmed in Harwin's crypt. It was me. I hit Joffrey and threw Lion's Paw in the river. Micah just ran away.
Is that what yours says, Jeff?
It does say that.
Yours says that?
Yeah, Lion's Paw. What is it though? What's yours
My
say?
note says Lion's Tooth.
What's
Are you
your
just-
book say?
I wonder if I'm wrong.
Lion's Tooth and Westeros.org wiki of fire and ice.
That's what it is.
Ice and fire. Lion's Tooth on there. Maybe Arya
Unreliable narrator.
unreliable
Yeah.
narrator changed the
I
name.
bet you that's a goof. I would be surprised if even on the Lion's Tooth page it doesn't say like. It actually says it's an unreliable narrator on the wiki. Within the Hollow Hill, Arya misremembers the sword's name as Lion's Paw.
That's what I'm saying. That's just like bullshit, right?
You make mistakes. Oh, it's unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
Wait. This actually, it also says on here that George has said in an interview that this was actually one of the viewpoints where he was purposely trying to misremember something in a character's viewpoint to like show that it could happen other places. Like he's like, this is a misremembrance that doesn't matter, that people might actually realize is the wrong name here. He again, maybe, who knows? To your point, Kyle, this could be a retcon. People could have been like, yo, you fucked up the name. He could have been like, oh, I did it on purpose. But he at least claims to have done this one on
See
purpose.
if you can find the other fuck ups.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good luck. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny.
All right, so Arya's like, you killed him. I hit Joff. Like, he didn't do anything, and you cut him in half. The Hound's like, yeah, I was taking orders. Like, what do you want me to do? It was my job. And then Thoros and Barrack kind of go off and talk, whisper, yada, yada, yada. They come back, and they're like, all right, you're accused of murder and will stand trial of the Lord of Light, but we don't have any witnesses, and you don't have any proof, so it's trial by combat.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I feel like they've met like Lem and Greenbeard and some of those guys, like Arya's been with for a few chapters, have mentioned like maybe some Lord of Light sayings in passing. I don't know. Have we talked about this before, Kyle? That this like group is like a Lord of Light group? Did we know that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, Nelson.
Yeah.
I feel like we would have talked about it. I don't remember me and you talking about it.
Yeah, me either. I feel like they might have said like the night is dark and full of terrors, like in passing one time or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but how would I have known that? Like, I didn't know that was specific to the Lord of Light.
They also kept saying they were looking for Thoros, the Red Priest. But yeah, I don't think we ever like came out and said.
I feel like Melisandre said that at the sacrifice of the gods.
That's what I'm saying. Like, have we heard like a Melisandre saying from these guys, like
Yeah.
as like a hint? And also, I think the other throw off is like kind of like what Thoros said earlier, like when he says to the Hound, like, yeah, earlier I was bald, but I didn't really actually give a fuck. Like I was kind of faking it. Everything we've heard about Thoros up to this point is he was literally just like Robert's number one drinking buddy. They would just get drunk and like fuck around. He didn't
was
give
a
a
good
fuck
dude.
about the religious
Yeah.
side of things. Yeah. He just liked to get drunk all the time. And here, this
Well,
is a
he-
pretty serious guy.
Well, he used to not have any powers too, right? Like he was just kind of faking it,
Theoretically.
and
yeah.
now like shit is going on, and
Yeah.
he's kind of like, ooh, you know, like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna delve into this a little further again.
Yeah, when you bring somebody back from the dead, it kind of makes you realize.
Wow. I got
Yeah.
something here.
Yeah.
All right, so the
He's
Hound
cooking.
is like, what? You guys are going to fight me? Like, which one of you? Like, you guys are idiots. Like, step up to the plate.
Yeah. Yeah, the Hound looks like he didn't believe it. He's like, are you a fool or a madman? So he asked Beric.
Both, right? No, he said.
There's neither. I'm a just lord.
Oh, neither.
So he goes around laughing at Lem and Greenbeard and Angwai and like, which one of you are gonna fight me? Like, I'll chop you all down. And Big Dog Beric steps up to the plate.
Well, when Beric first tells him, like, if you can prove your innocence with a blade, you're free to go, Arya loses it. She's like, no, this is game over. You're all fucked. Literally none of you can beat him.
Yeah,
like,
you idiots.
This is a bad deal.
Good.
And then, he just, like, laughs in their face, like, who's going to be you? And then Beric's like, it's me, you'll fight.
But when Beric steps up, Arya has another thought now, like, oh shit, I heard the story. It's like, this guy's unkillable. This fight will go on forever. You can't kill the guy. He's a zombie.
Yeah.
And then Beric's got armor. The Hound obviously doesn't. He was stripped of all of his belongings. And no, just sword. But it's actually sword and shield.
Yeah, it's funny. He's like, okay, I'll need sword and armor. And Beric's like, yeah, you'll get a sword, but innocence will be your armor. And the Hound's like, oh, my innocence versus your best breastplate. Is that the way it is?
That's not fair.
And Beric's like, all right, Ned, breastplate time.
Take it off. Just a little Ned reference. Arya is like, damn. Like, almost kind of gave her some goose prickles when she heard her dad's name. But it's this little boy Squire. All right, so young boy Ned strips off Beric's breastplate, and it's showtime. It's bad body showtime.
Gendry's like, mother have mercy.
What happened to this guy?
Lord Beric's ribs were outlined starkly beneath his skin. A puckered crater scarred his breast just above his left nipple, and when he turned to call for sword and shield, Arya saw a matching scar upon his back. The lance went through him. And so then the Hound, she sees that the Hound also saw it. She's like, I hope this motherfucker's scared, just like Michael was.
It is terrifying, right?
100%.
Oh my gosh.
What's funny though is like, it's crazy because like the Hound's laughing in their faces. Like literally earlier, his hands are bound, and the huntsman's like, I'm gonna put you back in a crow cage. And the Hound literally just laughs in his face. He's making fun of everyone. Even here, he's still making fun of Beric. Like he's like, I'm gonna like bugger you when he lights his sword on fire. Like the thing that he is afraid of is the fire. Like he doesn't give a fuck about anything until fire's involved. Then he's like, actually like, that's when Arya says like, I saw the fear in his eyes.
Do you think there's a little bit of him knowing that he's a high value target, so like he has more value as a hostage? That like he's got a little bit of like
they're not just gonna kill him.
Hostage armor. Like, you're not gonna kill me. Like, you can get X amount for me.
He was about to get in a fight here, though. Like, I mean, his life was definitely on the line here.
Yeah.
Yeah. My point is, like, if I was in his shoes, you would have seen the fear in my eyes from the moment they took the hood off. Arya doesn't see the fear in his eyes until there's flames right next to his face.
Well, that's fair. I mean, this dude has proven to be pretty
badass.
Brave, dude. Yeah.
All right, so the Hound is ready. He's like, all right, I got a sword, you got a sword, like, let's get after it. And before that, Thoros gets them all to pray.
Yeah, they also have arrows trained on the Hound in case he tries anything. Tries to kill random people and stuff.
Or if he wins, he like cut himself free type of thing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. If he tries anything, and no funny business, yeah. So Lord of Light looked down upon us, and then everyone is echoing what he's saying. Lord of Light, defend us. Lord of Light, protect us in the darkness. Lord of Light, shine your face upon us. Light your flame among us, Lore. Show us the truth or falseness of this man. Strike him down if he is guilty, and give strength to his sword if he is true. Lord of Light, give us wisdom. For the night is dark and full of terrors. The others chanted. I think it's interesting that Arya thinks Harwin and Engai loud as all the rest. Like, Harwin is her boy from Winterfell, and Engai is like the one that's like her and Gendry's closest in age. Like, these two guys, her friends, like, she's like, what the fuck? What kind
Everybody's
of,
in on this.
Fire, death cult are we in right now?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool too. It was like the Hound after this is like, yeah, it's pretty dark down here, but I'm gonna be the terror in this cave.
Yep.
I hope your God's a good one, because I'm sending you to him very soon.
Also, little Nelson was right, Jeff is wrong moment here in a second.
No, that never happened.
When there was a point before when Arya and Gendry were with the Brotherhood, and they're talking about like, oh, we gotta find Thoros, and Gendry's like, oh, I know Thoros. He used to come to the shop and get swords all the time because he would fuck him up.
It's not true.
And Arya was like, well, how did he like light him up? And he's like, oh, he would dip him in wildfire and then light him. And Jeff was like, oh, can we tell Kyle how they do it in the show because it's cooler? And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that's how they do it in the books too, just later on. So here,
once dragons were hatched, though. That's so I'm gonna say I was right. He probably was dipping it in wildfire before the dragons hatched, bitch.
Gendry says that.
Suck that.
That's what I'm saying. So when we were talking about that before, you were like, okay, let's tell Kyle how.
All right. Well,
how
I forgot I forgot it actually worked that way. So suck it. I was half wrong. You were half wrong.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
So Thoros, when he was lighting his swords up in the tournament, he wasn't doing it this way. He was using wildfire.
Okay.
Gendry tells Arya this before. But now, what Beric does is he literally just
Cuts his
slides his hand, gets the blood on it, and then bang, the fire's there. And like that would go out. Like if you stuck your sword in oil and then lit it on fire, I don't know how long.
Yeah,
that
but
would
it
last.
wasn't oil. It was just blood.
That's what I'm saying.
This
Shit doesn't go out.
And it actually fucks him in the end because it breaks his sword.
Yeah, that might be true. It might
Too
make
hot.
the sword more brittle. That might be
who
why it
knows?
breaks. Yeah.
All right, so definitely dope when they do light their sword in the show. So the fight starts. It's a lot of kind of back and forth. I don't know how much detail we want to get into it. We just kind of mentioned how Arya asked Gendry if it was wildfire, and then they both were like, "Oh shit, this is real magic."
Yeah, it's magic.
Hound came out swinging early on. Beric's like, I thought it was a cool visual. Like he's defending, like he's moving pretty quick, even though he's got holes all over his body.
Well, he was always supposed to be good, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think he was good. I don't know, like comparatively to the Hound.
Yeah, I always thought Hound was like top tier.
okay.
Like this would put Beric way out there. Maybe I was overestimating the Hound, or Beric clearly has some. Yeah. Beric has some juice on his side.
Well,
So
and
maybe that's
he's got
helping too,
fire
yeah.
all over the place. The Hound's kind of drunk. Like, I mean, he's got some advantages.
Yeah, I think the Hound being drunk is actually a bigger one.
The Hound's probably always
that's why
drunk, though.
Was he? Yeah,
That's
he's
true.
a functioning alcoholic.
I mean, Arya does think about it earlier, right before like she decides that he's going to lose. Like, oh fuck, he's fighting
Yeah.
drunk.
So after a little bit, Beric gets on the offensive, almost pushes him back into a fire pit, which
Yep.
is like, oh shit, like that's hot. Like I don't like that. I'm not falling in that.
Yep. So he comes back out, then he like stumbles again, but then basically Beric gets him back in the fire a second time.
Yeah. During that, Arya was like, oh my god, he's scared.
Yeah,
He's
like,
scared
oh
he's
fuck,
gonna
he's
lose.
drunk and he's scared. He's gonna lose.
And she's
Exactly.
excited. She's like, holy shit, he's
Yeah.
gonna lose.
So I do have the last little bit of this as a quote from the time he basically at one point there's fire near his face. He jerks away and he slips and goes down to one knee.
At once, Lord Beric closed, his downcut screaming through the air, trailing pennons of fire. Panting from exertion, Clegane jerked his shield up over his head, just in time, and the cave rang with the loud crack of splintering oak.
His shield is afire.
Gendry said in a hushed voice. Arya saw it in the same instant. The flames had spread across the chipped yellow paint, and the three black dogs were engulfed. Sandor Clegane had fought his way back to his feet with a reckless counterattack. Not until Lord Beric retreated a pace did the Hound seem to realize that the fire that roared so near his face was his own shield, burning. With a shout of revulsion, he hacked down savagely on the broken oak, completing its destruction. The shield shattered, one piece of it spinning away, still afire, while the other clung stubbornly to his forearm. His efforts to free himself only fanned the flames. His sleeve caught, and now his whole left arm was ablaze.
Finish him.
Greenbeard urged Lord Beric, and other voices took up the chant of
Guilty.
Guilty.
Arya shouted with the rest.
Guilty.
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 Guilty. Kill
Guilty.
him. Guilty.
Smooth as summer silk, Lord Beric slid close to make an end of the man before him. The Hound gave a rasping scream, raised his sword in both hands, and brought it crashing down with all his strength. Lord Beric blocked the cut easily, but the burning sword snapped in two, and the Hound's cold steel plowed into Lord Beric's flesh, where his shoulder joined his neck and clove him clean down to the breastbone. The blood came rushing out in a hot black gush.
Like, I mean, how like getting killed over and over again has to fucking suck, right? And like he gets to,
100%.
he gets to,
Nah, he's cool.
he gets to keep these scars too. Like my man, I don't know, I couldn't imagine. This isn't like that isn't the life you want to live. I don't think, right?
Which I feel like he's like, yeah, I don't know the order, and like this is the first we're seeing him, but it's like this seems way worse of an injury. I mean, all of them are lethal, right? Like eye through the eye, hanging,
Yeah.
lance through the
You
chest.
can get an eye. It depends on how far through the eye. Depends
He
on how
gets
far
cut in
the
half.
eye-
He goes from shoulder to breastbone. Like he's cut like
Yeah.
from his like.
Yeah, he's cut,
How do
man.
you
Yeah.
come back from that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. No, for sure.
Well, he comes back in like 10 minutes, not even.
yeah, he's like right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty
very-
much just
very
enough time for
quick
Arya
times.
to yell at him.
Yeah.
The other thing here is that definitely isn't in the show, which again I like to point out sometimes that to like get it more in Jeff's head. The Hound gets fucked up here.
Oh yeah,
Like
he's
in the show,
burned
the
up
Hound
and
catches
stuff.
on fire and it scares him. His whole left arm is like
Red and scarred and
He's
pus.
it's like peeling off.
meat
Yeah.
falls off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some flesh falls
It's
off.
bad.
Of it.
It's third degree for sure. So yeah, it's over. Beric falls to his knees in prayer, but he's actually dying. The
Yep.
Hound is rolling
Stop,
around.
drop, and roll.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Yep.
And then Thoris comes out and he's like, "All right, he's innocent. Go clean him up."
Yeah. And Arya's like, how if there are gods, like why? Like Arya's thinking like, I know he's guilty.
He's guilty.
Like the way trial by combat works is like, oh, we don't know.
Yeah.
The gods will definitely make sure the guilty person gets their due here. I know he's guilty. Like, is this like her
gods?
Proof?
Where you
it.
at?
It's all fucked. Like, which again is a gray area because like, do the gods follow some religious law? Do they follow the law of the land? Because by the law of the land, he was doing what the king said. You know what I mean? Like, did the seven follow the law of the land and R'hllor follows some other rule book?
We also know that there's multiple gods. Was she praying, or at least there's multiple religions, right? Maybe like.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, if maybe if you do a trial by combat in like the eyes of the seven, like Tyrion's, that's when you get like the laws of the seven kingdoms. But if you do like the R'hllor, you get like the rules of like Essos or someplace else where that.
What happens if you are guilty or innocent in the laws of the seven? We're like, all right, well, we're gonna take you up north real quick. You gotta prove it to the old gods.
It's like extradition. Like, oh, you're not.
Hold on, let's take.
You're not under arrest here, but you're under arrest like in Japan, so we're shipping you. Yeah, I mean, I think that happens.
Therein lies a big kind of issue with a lot of religion, right? Like, they all not all conflict, but they all definitely have parts that don't all agree with each other. So
exactly, yeah.
Who's gonna be right?
Yep.
So as they go to clean him up, the huntsman's like, "Man, I'm taking it back to the crow's cage. This is bullshit. He needs to die." And they're like, and all the men like pretty quickly were like, "No, he's innocent. Like R'hllor said he is."
Yep.
And then Arya makes one last dash,
grabs a dagger, charges at him, and somebody else grabbed her though. Was it Tom?
I think Lem ends up ripping it away from her.
She stops. So she stops. She sees his arm. Like, I feel like she could have attacked him, and she kind of is like,
"Oh yeah, Tom."
I feel like there's a section here where she's kind of thinking like, did he get what he deserved? Like, did he already get what he deserves? I feel like that she never says it that
with
blatantly.
His burned arm,
exactly, because she thinks like his arm, his face, like he's already fucked up enough. To me, I kind of take that as like he's already fucked up enough already. But he was still the Hound, right? Like, but he was still a horrible person. He still deserved more. He deserved to burn in hell. Like, this isn't enough. And she's like, the knife felt heavy in her hand, which again, like to me is like, can I do this? Like, can I actually kill it? Like, do I think it kind of, again, it's like, it's a really short line. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's kind of like the Ned quote, like the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. Arya's having that moment of like, does this guy actually deserve it? The sword her little knife felt heavy in her hand. She holds on tighter. She's like, fuck it. I don't care if this guy doesn't deserve it. He's kind of going to get it anyway. It's kind of how I read that one line. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I thought that was like a cool little Arya moment there. And then she starts yelling at him. She's like, admit it, basically. Like, admit what you did. Again, I think it's kind of like, if he admits it, I'm going for it. And he does. He admits it in a pretty rough way.
Read your quote.
I did.
His whole face twisted.
I wrote him down and cut him in half, and I laughed. And I watched them beat your sister bloody too. Watched them cut your father's head off.
Lem grabbed her wrist and twisted, wrenching the dagger away. She kicked at him, but he would not give it back.
You go to hell, Hound?
She screamed at Sandorf again in helpless, empty-handed rage.
You just go to hell.
Yes, said a voice scarce stronger than a whisper. When Arya turned, Lord Beric Dondarrion was standing behind her, his bloody hand clutching Thoros by the shoulder.
Done.
Yeah, I mean, like, this didn't take that long. Like, did he, like, here's the question. Did Beric have to bang Thoros to birth this shadow baby to bring him back to life? Like, how
quick deal.
Like, is that how this?
Yeah, the Hound didn't even fight real Beric. He just fought Shadow Beric that Thoros gave birth to right before they showed up.
No, but the new ones
real Beric was actually just hiding in the back the whole time.
But he has the same injuries, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's fucked.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. What do you think? What do you think of all?
I mean, I don't know what to think about that. Right?
Back?
No, not at that point. I mean,
I guess let's start off. What's next with the Hound? He's like a main focus of this one. Is he just gone?
I mean, he's going to be going somewhere.
He's innocent.
I think the problem with him right now, and I don't know that it's like the problem that they're not going to let him go or anything, but like he knows about Arya, right? Like, so he is another source of kind of knowledge that she's alive and where she is.
That's a good point, because he knows that, because when he first
you're supposed to be dead.
Who Arya is,
and she said,
"You're dead." He says, "You're dead." He's like, "You're dead."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you know you're dead?
So that's a good point. That's a valuable information, and he knows it. So yeah.
So I don't know if he goes back to King's Landing. I don't know if
that could get him back in some good graces. Like, hey, I know I deserted, but
yeah. But at the same time, like, I don't think he's worried about the desertion. I don't know. We haven't even heard them really talk about him back in King's Landing either.
I think they made fun of him for deserting,
But it was like
right
very
after,
brief.
But yeah, they didn't really care.
It sucks that he's definitely an interesting character, but he's like not a POV character. And like as soon as he left King's Landing, like he like wasn't around people anymore. So it's like we didn't just keep intersecting with random other POVs we have nearby.
Yeah, and I keep thinking Jamie's close, but Jamie's nowhere near. Yeah, so I don't see how he'd meet up with Jamie.
Might be the closest.
No,
Jamie or
Cat. Yeah, I think maybe he ends up with Cat somehow, but I don't know why.
Hey, guess whose side I'm not on anymore? You guys need anyone on your side? He's like a hedge knight maybe now.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think he is
in
though.
The business of looking for people to fight for him. It sounds like he just wants to find a flagon of wine and sit on a tree.
That's true. That's what I'm saying. Like when you're like he's a prisoner, rightfully so.
You're
like,
assuming he wants to find people to fight. I think he just wants.
Yeah. He seems like he's over that, right? Like he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see. I don't have a good answer for a lot of your questions for this one because, like,
well, that's the Hound. The only one I have is what's next with Arya, right? And I guess this crew.
Well, she's seen some crazy shit now. Like, does she start to believe this stuff?
Sure. I guess like more her mission, right? Like when she left Harrenhal, her mission was like meet up with family. I mean, that's kind of been her mission the whole time. But like, let's go meet up with Mom and Rob, River Run. That's where we're going. We got so close, captured. Hey. And what they were even telling her on their way to Beric is like, yeah, Beric will probably send you on to your mom like we want.
Yeah.
But we got to check with him. Like, when you get the squirrel, you can eat it. But when you get the golden squirrel, you take it to your lord, is what Greenbeard told her. And I think it's funny. Greenbeard still calls her squirrel.
The golden squirrel. Yeah, I just assumed that was kind of like a weasel kind of thing. But you're right. It is reference to that squirrel, golden squirrel.
Yeah. So it's kind of like Beric should theoretically have a ruling on Arya. Like, what do we do with her? Do we send her back? Do we send her to King's Landing? Like, what would Robert Baratheon want done with Arya?
I mean, I think she gets sent back to Cat, right? Like, I think this Beric seems like a good dude to me.
Ned was one that sent him out too, so probably not too much ill will there.
Yeah. So I don't know.
All right,
that's where I'm at.
All
I think maybe I hope this is when she finally gets back to them. She's been trying so hard. She needs at least a little bit, I think.
Yeah, we finally get a reunion that's not like random characters.
Although these guys are kind of cool. If she wants to hang out with these dudes, I'm all right with that too.
Again, I really like these guys. Characters are awesome. On paper, though, super just like they're outlaws. They're really no better than the Brave Companions.
Yeah.
They're
True.
Just because we agree with the law that they're ruling out doesn't mean that you have the right to just go rule out whatever laws you want because you have a group of people.
Yeah, and they are just killing people. You're right. It's not like they're just finding people. Like even then, it's like enforcing, and that's not right either. So okay, fair enough. Outlaws.
But yeah, so
vigilantes.
We'll leave that one there. We'll see Kyle in the next one. For Cat, I think it's 3.
Oh wow, you're thinking again.
Pretty sure
That's
3.
Never good.
It's just I'm questioning because this is Arya 6. Like, is Cat really not even had 3 and Arya's already?
That sounds
on 6?
about right.
Well, let's think.
Yeah.
Cat met Jamie in the deal.
That was the end of the last book. I'm pretty sure it's Cat dealing with repercussions of that is the first one, and then Rob coming back and we learn about the bad news. Oh, it might be Cat 4 because I think then the Karstark deal happens. Karstark kills the people and get.
Sounds about right. 3 or 4. We're leaning on 4. All right, guys. See you, Kyle.
See Kyle then. See the rest of you guys in the spoiler section.
Later, nerds.
Like, subscribe.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. See you later.
Bye, Kyle.
Now, on to the spoiler section of Arya 6. Nelson, what are your hot takes?
I don't have a few, but I feel like we could go maybe on for a little bit on some of them. Do you have anything?
Not really. I mean, nothing like crazy. I thought this cave, when I'm reading this cave, it seemed like it was like a throne type of thing. So I don't know if this is. I'm thinking this might have been like obviously a child of the forest hideout like deal, but it also makes me think that like while Bloodraven was traveling, the deals like he found this place too, and like he would sit on that throne.
One of my points is I don't think so. Maybe. I guess that's possible. But people think Beric is a huge Bloodraven parallel. They're both literally sitting in Weirwood thrones.
They got one eye.
One eye. Weird, like, back from the dead. Like, Bloodraven's not back from the dead, but he's, like, super, super old.
Yeah.
Underground tree system.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, parallels there. There's even, like, there was a quote. Let me see. Once he lights up his sword, there's a line that Arya has. Lit from below, his face was a death mask. His missing eye, a red and angry wound.
And
And Bloodraven's eye, his other eye is red because he's an albino. So
Yeah.
the other thing is they call him the Scarecrow Knight a lot, which is kind of like
Yeah. It's like
an ominous.
Yeah. I thought of it like, oh, he's been dead. Like this.
Yeah,
He's
that
almost
makes
like
sense.
not real type of thing.
It just makes me wonder because when they first do it, it's when he's walking down the stairs. Like the Scarecrow Knight came out wearing a black
He's
cloak.
also like, he seems like he's really skinny too. Like, who knows if he's even eating anymore. To kind of Kyle's point where he mentioned, like, this can't be a great life. Like, he can't enjoy being brought back from all this damage and whatnot, which we find out that he comes back less of him. Does he say that in this one too?
Yeah.
Like in the story, he comes back less of himself every time.
Yeah, it's one of the most famous quotes, I think. I would say one of my favorite quotes in like the whole series. People call it the mother quote, where he basically says, like, I can't remember what my mother looks like. I was pledged to marry a girl. I can't remember her name. He's like, sometimes I think I was born that day on the Mummer's Ford. He's like, are you my mother, Thoros? Which is why people call it the mother quote.
That makes
like,
sense.
that's like, I was reborn.
And to kind of the point that you're making, like, they're doing all those things, like, would Ned and Robert even agree? Like, I don't even know if, like, Beric, if he's their leader, like, he's not thinking maybe the same way anymore, too.
Yeah, it seems, and they say they're doing shit for Ned, but they're following this religion very closely. Or they say they're doing shit for Robert, but they're following this religion. Robert wouldn't give a fuck about this religion. Like, to the Hound's point, he wouldn't care. Ned is North. Not that I don't think he's, like, anti-other religions, but he wouldn't be like, yeah, Lord of Light.
Well, one, they lost the Mummer's Ford, right? So, like, if they heard that Ned and Rob had both died, like, wouldn't they have rode for, like, young Rob or Renly right away? Or even Stannis, like, whoever they claim to be, like, the new
just
heir.
go by the book. Like, Stannis, Renly.
Unless Beric gets a lance through the heart and then he comes back and is like, oh, shit, we need to fight for Robert. Like, he just can't get that out of his mind type of thing.
Yeah, like, if a king dies and his son becomes king, then you just start listening to the son. Like, that's the rules. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't think the son's the right heir, you still start listening to the next king. You don't just take matters into your own hands, which is what these guys are doing. Yeah. A lot of these lines, like I was kind of mentioning it in the non-spoiler, these guys are in like a weirwood cave, which again seems very like old gods, North, Bloodraven type magic, not fire god magic.
We know that there was obviously weirwoods before though, right? Like there's a weird Isle of Faces thing that is like pretty close to where they are, which was filled with them.
Yeah, and we kind of learn, we learn more about like the old gods and like kind of more about that stuff later on. But one of the things we learn is like that the old gods and like the religions with the weirwoods used to do blood sacrifices at the weirwoods, like kill people in front of the weirwoods, hang their entrails from the branches, like some really crazy shit.
I think another curious part too is that we've maybe suspected that there's a root network, right?
Yeah, exactly. People call it the weirwood net. The theory is like the whole reason that if like once you link into the weirwoods, you can kind of see through all of them is because the roots are actually all connected underground because these trees never die. They can grow to be thousands theoretically of years old because they never die. So yeah, like are these roots actually through some long ass chain connected to Bloodraven?
Because it doesn't seem like there's like with all the roots that are around this tunnel cave system, there's not a bunch of them right above. So is it just a long ass root from like a far away ass weirwood, or maybe one that got chopped down type of thing? But like if they're still all interconnected, it kind of
or because maybe because so many in the south got chopped down, those ones are actually not connected to the network. Like the roots and trees are still there, but they're not linked up anymore. Like somehow that chain got broken or whatever.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that was like they used to do blood sacrifices. We know they used to do blood sacrifices. I don't think we really know much more about like why did they do that? Was there a good point? Kind of along with what we assume of like the weirwood net and how that works. Like there's a point where I think like Bran like wargs into a raven and he can tell that there's like a bunch of children of the forest in there. I think like multiple children of the forest. Maybe that's when he actually goes into the weirwood net. He can like tell there's like multiple people that are in there. It's one of the things where I wonder like if you get killed in the weirwood tree and your blood goes into the trees, is that kind of how you get added to like even if you're not a green seer, right? You're You're Catelyn. If you get killed in front of a weirwood tree and your blood goes into the roots, does it make it so that, okay, now you're just chilling in the weirwood net? Like that's your afterlife and you can like see visions and stuff? The only reason I bring it up is because there's a point where when the Hound cuts Beric open it says, and the dirt drank his blood, which just kind of feels like very like old gods. The weirwood is
taking
Barrick's blood in, which who knows if that's special or not. And again, kind of just like last thing on the Barrick line, he ends up dying.
Yeah. This was going to be my next point for Barrick too.
Birthing Catelyn.
Yeah.
He gives her.
He gives the rest of his life to her, right?
Yeah, he gives her like the kiss of life,
which kind of makes you think, is the R'hllor is like, did Barrick choose that? Is it the god's choice? Like, it's kind of out there. I don't even know.
This is one of the things that I never understood. Like, if it killed Barrick to bring back Cat, why didn't it kill Thoros to bring back Barrick?
Right.
And is the answer like, oh, when Thoros brought back Barrick the first time, he only gave over like a 10th of himself.
Yeah.
And then he just kept giving back, like, it takes like a 10th of a life to give back Barrick to bring back somebody. And like Thoros just had like 4 more in the 10. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird. Like, the way the show explains it is the person doing the bringing back has nothing to do with it. They're just like the conduit for R'hllor. You know what I mean? Which it's definitely not how the Barrick Cat one works out in the book.
Yeah, so that was going to be what I was going to say is like, I think if we're really going to dive into like these gods are real and like they're actually playing a role on this thing, which I think, you know, if anyone's actually proven something, it's been the R'hllor side of it all. If R'hllor's actually like, well, I still need Thoros, like I'm not taking any life from him, like, or maybe I'm taking the most minimal of life, but I'm done with you, Barrick. Like you've served your purpose. You've got to this point. But then you're gonna say, why couldn't Thoros just bring Cat back to life?
Well, I'm not sure. I actually don't remember where Thoros is in that point in the story. You would assume he's with Barrick, but that might not be true. He might be totally somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Barrick and I wanted to keep living, I would keep Thoros pretty close to me because it doesn't sound like he's got the best of luck. But
I don't know. I won't. Like,
but that was my kind of point. Is like if R'hllor actually has some power and he can kind of pick and choose. Like, he's obviously choosing Thoros because he's a messenger of his or a prophet of his, and Barrick's kind of that, but like he could also be kind of a martyr type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because like I want to say like I feel like there's no just like God like R'hllor. Yeah. Like if there is like a R'hllor type, what's interesting is we're how far in? We're halfway through the books chapter wise. Mm-hmm. We have not heard Bloodraven's name.
Yeah,
we haven't heard his character's name, like not even the guy like Three-Eyed Crow. We have heard Three-Eyed Crow. We haven't heard of Brendan Rivers. We're this far in, and we have no hint that like Bran's powers or anything like that is like coming or the weird dreams Bran has is coming from somebody pulling strings, right? Just how many times in the spoiler section have we said like, oh, Bloodraven could have something to do with that? There's no Bloodraven in the books. Like there's no character like that. And all of a sudden, it might be at the very end of this book, but I don't think it is. I think it's like next book when we actually kind of hear about his character.
I have no clue when we hear about
Brendan Rivers and stuff. I'm just saying, if George can wait till book 4 or post halfway through book 3 to drop a character, like
it makes you think if he actually had it all ironed out.
Exactly. He could have written this far along and not had Bloodraven planned and just made Bloodraven up at this point and like kind of backfilled some things with him. My point is like, what if that happens again and it's kind of the same thing as Bloodraven, but for like the R'hllor side of things?
Yeah, I mean,
or what if it was planned out the whole time, but it's just a character that we haven't really heard that much of?
It's just gonna take forever.
And along those lines, I guess I'll throw one proposal out there. Shiera Seastar, who's Bloodraven's sister, who he loved, was like a magic user. People think she is Quaithe. I've definitely brought this up a little bit before. But again, that's a character we've heard like nothing
and she's
about.
Old as fuck. That's why she wears a face covering.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like somebody we've heard like nothing about. But also like at this point, like say that really you're Kyle.
She keeps popping up.
Say that we've only read as much as Kyle. I'm saying Shiera Seastar. Just like Quaithe has popped up. Just like Bran has seen a Three-Eyed Crow. But we haven't heard the name Brendan Rivers. Just like we haven't heard the name Shiera Seastar.
Yeah.
My point is George has like a placeholder, right? Quaithe, a Three-Eyed Crow, like a vague idea, or maybe like R'hllor, and then just last second he introduces you to the character, like a backstory of the character and the current character at the same time and different things.
I'm following you. I don't know a whole lot about other than what we've kind of discussed. Like I'm not diving deep into those two people. So
Well, the reason I think that's possible is because people have asked George about gods before. And I think George has said we'll never see or like get confirmed if like there are gods or the gods are real.
R'hllor is not coming down out of the fire and
is it like not like the concept
himself.
of like what you think is of a god? But to those points, like we're kind of learning that Bloodraven is kind of filling the shoes of like the old god, right? In some aspect, it seems like he's sending dreams and stuff, maybe doing some stuff that people contribute to old god is actually Bloodraven related.
Rustling the tree branches.
Which to me kind of contradicts what George said. Like, oh, we'll never see the gods. Yeah, we'll never see like real gods, but like isn't Bloodraven kind of like what people are thinking the gods are? And I'm wondering like, will we ever find the same thing out
it's like a puppet. It's like the Wizard of Oz.
Exactly. Will we ever find the man behind the R'hllor curtain? Is my question.
Yeah, I can see that being again. Like I think we're gonna at some point we should come to a head with most of the people behind the curtains are like, what are we talking about?
Well, the thing that's different, again, the thing that seems weird with R'hllor, and maybe I'm just not thinking outside the box enough, but to me it seems obvious that like, oh, Bran gets like special visions pretty much. It happens to be while he's sleeping, but pretty much he only gets these like special dreams of the future while he's sleeping, right? And it's like unsolicited, right? Which means like Bran didn't ask for it. It just kind of happens to him. Whereas what Thoros does seems very solicited. Same with Melisandre, right? Like they're trying to bring someone back to life. They're trying to give birth to a shadow baby, which unsolicited things I feel like can easily come from an outside source. Bloodraven can easily send people random dreams. It's harder for like me to be pulling the strings, but you still are getting everything you want. You know what I mean? Like who am I pulling the strings for if, you know what I mean? Thoros is reviving everyone he wants to. Also, I wonder, and I'm sure they'll mention it, I wonder like, has Thoros not tried to like revive some other guy who died, or is it only Beric? Like, you know what I mean? I know he says like, I think when they ask him like, why'd you do it?
I pray over them, and if the Lord brings him back, he brings him back, right?
I'm guessing that's what he'll say, but like, it would be fucked up
if
like
that's definitely what he said in the show. I think he's like, I didn't choose to bring him back, the Lord did. Like, all I did was pray over him.
I think they ask him like, how did you like? Melisandre asked him like, how did you bring him back in the show? And he's like, I didn't try to. My friend was dead. And he's like, and I didn't believe it anymore in the moment I said it then than I have for the past 20 years. But my friend was dead, and it was the only words that came to my mind. It's like, but then he started breathing. But here he like actually gets down, pretty much gives him CPR, like a magic CPR. I think he does like mouth to mouth.
You think?
I'm pretty sure that's what happens. Like it's called the Kiss of Life. It's something they teach him at the Red God Academy.
I don't remember that. I'm just too at this point in the book. Like I might as well be reading it for like the first and a half time. Like
that's what I was thinking.
Once I read it, I am like, okay, like I obviously remember that, but like I don't remember many details at all.
Yeah. Last thing I had. There's a part where Beric's like, Ned, come take my breastplate off, and Arya gets all geeked up because this guy has her dad's name.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mentioned that in the non-spoiler.
This guy is Edric Dane.
Wait, how do you...
We don't know it yet. We haven't heard that yet. But in the next chapter, we'll learn more about this guy. Arya becomes friends with him because he's young. He's like 10 to 12. Arya's like 9.
He's the only surviving Dane?
I don't know if we know the extended family tree. Ashara and Arthur are his aunt and uncle. So
there's another brother or sister?
At least another one.
Say it was a brother if he still has the name.
I think he's the Lord, though. Yeah, it says Edric Dane, also known as Ned, is the Lord of Starfall and the head of House Dane. His father, whose name is unknown, was the elder brother of Sir Arthur and Lady Ashara and Lady Illyria Dane, who's his other aunt.
So Ned's the guy. Where's their house at? They don't have a house?
Starfall, way down south. He was Beric's squire before any of this shit kicked off. That's why he's here.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. Like if he's the Lord, he should be.
I'm guessing
there.
He wasn't Lord when Beric was sent off, but I'm not sure. I'm guessing we'll learn more next time. I haven't read that far ahead, but I'm guessing next time we have a chapter, her and Arya will start rubbing elbows, and we'll learn more about him. But yeah, this is a cool guy. This is.
I don't remember him at all. What's like? Are they?
Well, the reason he was, I think the leading theory is the reason he was supposed to be important is because after Storm of Swords, George was actually planning on doing a 5-year time gap, not in writing books, which is what's actually been happening.
What's actually happened?
But he wanted a 5 gap in story. Like Arya's in Bravos, cool. She trains for 5 years. Bran's with Bloodraven, cool. She trains for 5 years. So a lot of time it like worked up, and then like it would make sense. Like Arya has skills now. Like it's kind of tough for Arya to like become a deadly assassin in 2 months.
True faceless man.
Exactly. Same thing with Bran.
Or even like Dany. Like you get Dany through the Slaver's Bay Wars and closer to coming over.
Exactly. So I think there's some characters here that were introduced in Storm to kind of fill some roles in Feast when they're 5 years older. So Ned here is like 12. He would be 17, which is like Jon Robb age.
A man
exactly,
grown.
older than Robb and John, so he can be fighting and stuff. Unfortunately, he decided couldn't figure out the 5-year time gap. So in Feast of Crows, we get another Dane introduced called Darkstar.
Who is overseas. Or no, he's down in Dorne,
he's
right?
with Arya and Martell and the whole Marcella
Doesn't
escape
he die?
plot. He's the one.
Or does he kills the other guy?
He cuts Marcella's face and flees.
Oh, right.
At least that's what the story goes. There's a lot of theories that he actually wasn't the one who did it, or somebody else did it, or whatever, right? But yeah, that's kind of where he's at. But the thought is that the only reason Darkstar's around is because George decided he didn't go the 5-year time gap, but he wanted like a 17 to 20-year-old Dane that could theoretically. I think the leading theory is Darkstar is going to go steal Dawn, because I think he's where we learn about it. The sword. He's like, I should get it. I'm worthy. Blah 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 blah. It's bullshit that I don't have it. So I think the theory is he's going to go steal it. Bang. That's how Dawn gets introduced into the fold, right? Because if Jon's not a Dane, and if we're not going to learn about Jon's a Dane until after all the ship blows over, if at all,
something has to happen through these actual Danes.
And we assume that Jon's going to be the one holding Lightbringer at the end of the day, and we assume Dawn is Lightbringer, which I think that's the easiest gimme. But say that ends up in Jon's hands. Say he's not a Dane, right? I like the Jon's a Dane theory, but the leading theory is R plus L equals J. Jon's a Targaryen. Even if that's true, I think very likely, I think Dane's still getting in his hands. How does that happen? Someone's got to get it. Someone's got to get it out of Starfall. Yeah, Dawn.
Yeah. All right.
And it was supposed to be Ned Dane, but there was no 5-year time gap, so it doesn't make sense.
He's somewhere running around.
So he's still with Beric or whatever. Yeah.
Or Cat.
The other interesting thing I guess that I'll mention that people talk about Ned is he has the same nickname as Ned.
Well, isn't that just the understood nickname of Eddard?
Edric is.
All right, we'll just say anything with the Ed start seems to be a Ned nickname.
Sure.
No?
The reason people point it out though is like, say that some guy named Ned was known for like breaking your aunt's heart, which forced her to commit suicide.
You're not gonna
and killing.
Nickname.
Yeah, exactly. Even if your son is named Edric, you're gonna find a different nickname, or you're gonna call him his full name his whole life. You're not gonna go with the same nickname as the guy who did all these horrible things to your family. So people take this as evidence that Ned didn't really do all these horrible things to this family, or something along those lines.
Which would go to R plus L.
Which leads, I guess, kind of away from R plus L. Not necessarily, but it kind of leads to something fishy going on between the Starks and the Danes.
It kind of leads me to believe that he didn't have a relationship with the aunt. Like maybe he was just a really cool friend to them all.
I mean, an interesting thing that people don't bring up a lot is after the Tower of Joy, theoretically, when Ned just had a fight to the death against Arthur Dane, the next thing Ned does is take Dawn back to Starfall. He literally takes the sword back.
Yeah. You've also said that Arthur Dane's alive. And
people think that. But my point is, like, Lady Dustin later on gets pissed off that Ned didn't bring her husband's bones back.
Yeah.
So Ned's not going to bring like some of his most loyal men's bones back to the north, but he's going to take a random sword back to Starfall.
Yeah.
Clearly there's something, to me, even if it's not like Jon isn't Asharis, there's something that we don't know about with the Danes. And the Starks are somehow involved, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what it is. The Dane mystery is really exciting, and this is like literally the only one besides Darkstar that we ever like get conversations with on page. So, but yeah, that was the only thing I had.
All right, yeah, let's get it. Edric Dane running around.
All right, well, we'll see you guys in the next one for Cat 3, Hoster's Funeral, and
oh damn, he's dead.
Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Bye.